Okay, so I am going to, or I have already attached the picture of my notes just so you can see them. So that way you can see everything in form, because my video I made yesterday for you is all kinds of crazy and it was visually not pretty, and then also it made that awful noise. And if you watched it and made it through, I'm sorry, and I am impressed because I could not do it. I am going to work through the problems with you, and then I'm going to do the rest of my work for you. The old hard way where I hold the computer above my head and the calculator above it and do all that. So I apologize, it might take longer. Yesterday was so much easier, and it makes sense because it did not work well. So I'm going to do the problems for you on a whiteboard, which I know how much you guys love to do it anyway, so I figured why not in this way. Use my eraser and I'll give you a little purple marker action for you. Okay, so 9.5 is completing the square by quadratic. So the picture is there for you to look at the same time you watch this video, so I don't have to do everything. I'm just going to do the examples with you. Okay, so the first kind of example, I'm just going to do those with you, okay? First kind of example is when it just says find, let me see what you can see. Okay, now I can see. So it says find C. That's all you have to do. First part, that's it. So it gives you a problem. I'm making this one up, right? So it's on my paper. So it says x squared plus 10x plus c. So we need to find what c is. C is, what's the term that would make this a perfect square trinomial? That's really what this means. To make a perfect square trinomial, sorry, words are hard, you take the b value and divide it by 2, and then square it. Whatever that number is, it goes right there. That's your c value. So b is 10. You say, hey, can I divide 10 by 2? Yes, I can. It's 5. And then square it. What's that answer? It is 25. So I would write on my homework answer, c equals 25. That would be it. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope it does. Let's try another one that maybe has a fraction answer in it. I'm just making sure. Board's hard. Okay. Number 2, I have x squared minus 17x plus c. So again, take your b value, divide it by 2, and then square it. So I always write that out. It'll help a lot. When you take your b value, I never take the negative sign with me, okay? Because it doesn't, in my opinion, it confuses people. So take the 17, divide it by 2. Does that divide by 2 evenly? If it does not divide evenly, you leave it alone. So you go, okay, when I square it, you're actually going to square the top number by itself and the bottom number by itself. So 17 squared is 289. 2 squared is 4. So that is your answer for C. Okay, they're allowed to be fractions, and we will get them a lot later. So that is the first large chunk of day 1's homework for 9-5. Okay, and this is worked out again on my worksheet on my homework. I'm just working it out for you. Okay. I just need to make a line where I can't cross with my hand. Okay. Now, number 3, we're actually going to work through part of it. We're going to work through this process. Number 3, I have x squared plus 6x plus 5 equals 12. Now the steps on your paper, they're there. I wrote them down for you, okay? Step 1 says move C. So you want to have only things with x's on the left side. Everything out is moved. So I want to take this guy and move it. To move him, I have to subtract him and then leave space. So x squared plus 6x plus blank equals, actually subtract 12 minus 5, that's 7, plus blank. That is, ooh, I'm writing too big. Oh, I wrote too big. Let me see if I can turn this. Oh, okay, I got this. Can we see it? Okay. That's what I get for writing too big. Okay. Now, next part, step 2 says make this a perfect square. So we need a perfect square. That's where you do the b over 2 and square it, and you're going to put it in both blank spots. Okay? So 6 over 2, well, that's 3. When you square it, you get 9. So I'm going to put 9 in both those spots. Step 3. Okay, I'm gonna have to scoot down after this. Step 3 says we're gonna rewrite this. So we wanna rewrite this answer because we could factor this. Remember when we factored, we would say what times what makes this and adds up to this, right? Remember perfect square trinomials, because this is a square and this is square and this times 2 is that, right? So that's when you have the same thing twice. So this would be the same thing as that. Well, instead of writing the same thing twice, we just write something squared. So that's where we go, what makes this squared? What times itself makes that? Well, that's just x. What was this before it was squared? So what is b over 2? Well, it was 3. And then what symbol is there? Okay. And then on this side, we're going to simplify. So you do 7 plus 9. What is 7 plus 9? It is 16. Okay? Then that's it. I'm going to have to scoot now. That's the hardest part. That's the thing everyone has a hard time with. So if you didn't do that, relook at that again. Just stop right there and try it again. Okay? Step 4, we want to solve. So this is just slowly getting x by itself. So outside in. On the outside is the squared. So we're going to square root both sides. Okay, now when you square a square root, they cancel out, so you're left with x plus 3. I don't need the parentheses anymore. I'm just looking at how much you can see. Can I take the square root of 16? Is it a whole number? Yes, it's 4. Now, anytime you take a square root, your answer, remember, because what times what makes 16? Well, 4 times 4 makes 16, but also -4 times -4 makes positive 16. So square roots, anytime you take a square root, you have a positive answer and a negative answer. That's where we get the plus or minus from. And this is where we make our 2 equations. So you're going to write x plus 3 equals positive 4 and x plus 3 equals -4, and you're going to solve them separately. They both say plus 3, so on both equations, you're going to subtract 3 from both sides. The answers are just going to be different. So the whole math's the same, just the final answers are different. So over here, x equals 4 minus 3 is 1. Subtract 3 over here, -4 and -3, x equals -7. Okay, this is again in pencil form on that worksheet, so you can look at it again, so you can double check your work. I'm just showing you again how to do it since my video messed up. Okay, I'm going to erase it. I will keep marking the steps down for you. I suggest you do it too. It'll help you figure out, keep your balance a little. Okay, now let's look at example 4 if I can find it. Okay, a little too high. Takes practice. Okay, now I have x squared minus 6x plus 12 equals 19. Okay, just making sure you see it. Again, step 1 says move everything that's not x to the other side. So we're going to subtract 12 and leave your blanks. So x squared minus 6x plus blank equals 19 minus 12 is 7 plus blank. Okay. Step 2 says we want to make that a perfect square, so we do b over 2 and we're going to square it. So b, again, just pull that number out. 6 over 2 is 3. When we squared it, we get 9. So put 9 in both sides. I know it's a coincidence, not the same. These are, when they're easy, sometimes the numbers are similar. Okay. Step 3, we are going to rewrite it. Slowly scoots. We're going to rewrite this. So again, we're putting it in parentheses with a squared on the outside. What squared makes the first thing? Well, that's x times x, so we only need one of them because that means 2 of them. What was this before we squared it? It was a 3. What symbol's in the middle? That's the part that messes everyone up. That was a minus. And then equals, take this and add it. 7 plus 9 is 16 again. Step 4, solve. Again, outside in, get rid of this. So square root both sides. The square root and the square cancel out. We're left with x minus 3 equals, that turns into 4, and since it's a square root, we have plus or minus. You make your two equations again. It just looks almost like the last one. Just that guy's different, and that changes the whole problem. The big part is if you mess this middle thing up, you'll mess the answers wrong. I'll understand it, I'll see it. That's why you show your work and I can see it, but it will be where you mess up. So now on all of these, we're going to add 3. So I'm going to show that I'm adding 3, which is why showing your work is important. This one, 4 plus 3 is positive 7. Negative 4 minus 3 is negative 1. So the answers are almost the same. The signs are just different. So again, answers are completely different in the sense of the numbers are different. Okay, so take your time. You can pause me. You can look at it. You can take your time, look and see if you're doing it. Again, it's also on paper. So you can listen to me do this and pay attention if you need help, or you can look at the paper, you try it, and then check and see if you're right based on my paper. Okay. Last one where there's just an x squared. So we have x squared minus 8x equals negative 9. So this first part, step 1, no, this is example 5, right? Is there anything to move over? There is not, right? See, there's nothing over there. The x is already by itself, but I don't have space left over. So I'm just going to rewrite this. So I have my plus blanks. So I know where I'm adding my numbers. Don't forget you need your plus blanks on both sides, or you'll severely mess up this and sometimes it won't work. Okay, now step 2, take b divided by 2 and square it. So 8 divided by 2, that's 4. When you square it, you get 16. So I'm going to put 16 on both sides. Okay, you ready? Then step 3, rewrite this. Again, it's always parentheses squared. First thing before it was squared, what was this before I squared it? What's the symbol in the middle? Equals, what is negative 9 plus 16? 7. Okay? So then we move up. Now, step 4, how do you get rid of that squared? I square root both sides. Now, can I take the square root of 7? When I type that into my calculator, does it give me a whole number? It does not. Try it. Second x squared 7. Nope, it's a decimal. If it doesn't square root, you leave it as a square root of 7. Do not forget the plus or minus in the middle, because no matter what, if this is a pretty number or not, it's still a positive negative answer. You still make your 2 different equations, because a lot of times they'll ask you for decimal answers. So still make your 2 different equations. X minus 4, I'm just seeing if you can see it, equals square root 7, positive 1. X minus 4 equals negative square root 7. It's really minus square root 7. We'll move up, move up, move up. Okay. Solve them. You're going to have to add 4 to all of them. So when you type it in, let me grab my calculator. Okay. So when you type it into your calculator, right, turn this on, you just do 4, okay. 4 plus the square root of 7. So then x equals, and then 1 decimal place, so 6.6, because that does not round. Same thing here. You can do 4, and then since it's minus or negative, minus, do the minus, negative 7. X equals 1 point, that one rounds, 4. And then that is the same 2 answers I have on my worksheet, okay? So it's okay if this happens. Just keep going, leave that there, and then at the end, do not turn into decimals around until the end, okay? Now I'm gonna show you again how to do the ones where there's numbers in front of the x squared. It's exactly the same. I have to flip my paper. I'm looking at it so I don't do the wrong numbers and make stuff up for you. Okay. Let me bring this back. Okay. Number 6. Okay. Negative 2x squared plus 8x minus 18 equals 0. Okay. Now, this has a number in front of it. It's the first time we've had this. We're not allowed to complete the square because this is not a square, because perfect square trinomials, that's what we want this to be. 2 is not a square. So to get rid of it, we want to get rid of it from everything. So you're just going to divide every single number on both sides of the equal sign, I don't care what the number is, by negative 2. Whatever this is. If that was negative, keep it negative. If it was positive, keep positive. Divided by whatever is in front of that x squared. You want it to be 1x squared positive when you're done. So when I do that, I get x squared, minus 4x plus 9 equals 0. Because 0 divided by anything is still 0, right? So that's perfect. That is the only thing different. After that, you get to go back to step 1. And you go, okay, I want to move that c over by subtracting 9. So x squared minus 4x plus blank equals negative 9 plus blank. Okay, so that's the only thing that changed. Again, step 2, take your b divided by 2 and square it. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, squared it, it's still 4, right? 2 is a funny number sometimes, it still makes the same number. So put 4 there, put 4 there. Okay, sliding. 3, rewrite this so it's in something parentheses squared. So the first term before it was squared, the last term before it was squared was a 2, the middle sign equals negative 9 plus 4 is negative 5. Now, step 4 says solve. So when we square root both sides, type that in. Square root negative 5. It says non-real answer. It says error. When that happens, it's because there's a negative under here. You are not allowed to have a negative under square root. It's one of our like golden math rules for now. We haven't learned the other stuff. You'll learn it, I don't think in this chapter. I do not remember, to be honest. I don't think it's in this class. I think it's in next class. I think it's Algebra 2, to be honest with you. Okay, so right now, it's not allowed to happen. It's against the rules. So since it's against the rules, and this is not allowed, that said error, you're going to write no real solution. Or the 0 with a line through it, whichever one makes you happy. Okay, so since that's a negative there, it does, and every once in a while it'll happen. It won't happen very often, okay? And always double check your math just in case, but that would be your answer, okay? Let's do one just similar to that, but it's gonna have some crazy numbers in it, okay? And again, this is all written on the paper. Okay, number 7, last one on this page. 3x squared minus 9x minus 3 equals 21. Okay, first thing we gotta do, get rid of that because that's not a square and it's not pretty, so we wanna get rid of it. I say get rid of it no matter what, just makes your life easier, okay? So, divide everything by 3, you get x squared minus 3x minus 1 equals 7. Then step 1 says move that guy over, you're gonna add this time, right? So x squared minus 3x, put your blanks in, equals 8 plus blank. Right? Step 2 says take b and divide it by 2 and square it. Well, 3 divided by 2, just like we did in that first part, does that divide evenly? Nope. If it doesn't, you square them individually. So that turns into a 9, and that turns into a 4. So 9 over 4, 9 over 4. Okay. Step 3, I don't know why I put a line around that. Okay, again, should be in parentheses squared. So the first thing before it was squared was x. What was this before it was squared? B divided by 2, what was this? It was 3 over 2. What's the symbol in the middle? Equals. If you can't do that in the head, it's completely fine. You just, push clear until you're good. Just type it in. 8 plus over 4. Enter. If you don't get the fraction answer, always have fraction answer. Mine says 41 over 4. Not pretty, but it's okay. Step 4, I probably have to move. Oh, you couldn't see any of that. I'm sorry. I have to scoot down. I'm writing too big. Okay, next, solve it. Take the square root of both sides. Now, this is going to also be the tricky part because of fractions. So these cancel out, and you're left with x minus 3 over 2. Now, over here, this is not all going to divide because it's a fraction. So you want to try them separately. So you try to take the square root of 41. See if that works. Typed it in. I get a decimal, so I'm going to leave the square root of 41. Take the square root of 4. Does that make a whole number? Yes, it should. Okay, here's a little insight. After you take the square root, these numbers are always the same. That's how you know you're correct. Right before you make your two equations, these denominators have to be the same. If they're not, you've done something wrong. Okay, because every single time you're never allowed to have a square root in the denominator, which means this has to turn out to be no square root there. You see how we went from all of it being square rooted to just this, because that didn't square root evenly, but this guy did. That's why, because it's not allowed to be down there. That's why this always perfectly works out, because then we put plus or minus, so we're ready for our two equations. So then we have x minus 3 over 2 equals positive square root of 41 over 2. And x minus 3 over 2 equals negative square root of 41 over 2. Again, you're going to be adding 3 over 2 on both sides. Again, calculators, just use parentheses. So parentheses, 3 over 2, close it, and then plus, put in parentheses again, square root of 41. When you do this, you just have to push out over 2. You see how my line stopped at 41? Just make sure you do that. If not, it will be wrong. And look, that's a decimal. It's allowed. So I have x equals 4.7. And then do the same thing over here. 3 over 2 minus, and then a parentheses again, square root of 41, push out, divided by 2. And then I get x equals negative 1.7. And those are the two answers I also have on my paper. Okay, oh, you can't see them. That's good, I said them to you. Okay, so all of it's on paper. You can see the same thing I did here is the same thing that's on that paper. Okay, just let me know if you need help. I can do more problems with you. I hope this makes more sense. I'm sorry the last video was wrong. You just gotta tell me if something's wrong with my videos, because I honestly get so tired of listening to my own voice, I don't watch them. So please just let me know if you need any help. I'm happy to do more practice problems with you today. I will actually do some more today in a little bit. And if you like the whiteboard, if that's fine, I can happy to do it instead of paper. I'll do the next one on paper for you, and then you can decide and let me know if you guys want. If not, I'll just do it however, if you guys don't let me know. Okay?